I'm here with Chuck Wiseman, Wiseman Law Firm, and this is the sequel. We're trying to make a better video on the sequel to the questions you've always wondered but were afraid to ask an attorney. It's unique. A lot of people moving here from all over the country, and you don't really know how things work in the Lowcountry, and Chuck is one of our ambassadors on the Lowcountry Connect. Chuck is sponsoring this video, and it's great information. So I know you have more questions that people ask you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
A long time of practicing law down here.
Yep, and again, we kind of start off again, my little disclaimer, the fine print.
Yep.
This is for information purposes only. This does not create an attorney-client relationship in any means. So this is just kind of what I call a cocktail party discussion.
Yeah, right. No, it's good.
As to what I have. And this is just over the years, questions that I have received from clients in emails or phone calls in preparation of their closings, of their transactions, and I think it's really helpful to kind of go through some of this stuff.
Which they totally have those questions.
That's
so
right.
hopefully this will help.
Knowledge is power.
Here. Yes.
Right? So let's just get right into it here. Here's a question I get all the time. When are we officially closed?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So what is officially closed? Because a lot of times in the first segment that we did, we talked about the closing process and how that works. And sometimes it can take the course of a day to officially close a transaction.
So it's signed documents and funds received.
That's right. That's right. So once basically, as far as the closing happens, there is what's called an exchange, whether there is by courier to deliver signed documents to the other party.
Right.
And then there is disbursements of when there are wire transactions or funds are then sent out, to the other party. So I would say to a seller, you are officially closed when I, your seller's counsel, am in receipt of your proceeds.
Yes.
That's when we are officially closed.
Okay.
That's kind of where it happens.
That's something that a lot of people just don't know.
Right.
They don't know.
Right. And I get it, because you would think like, I just signed my documents and I left the office.
Right.
I should be done.
Right.
Or some behind the scene things that are happening that need to finish that process up. So that's a big one. Kind of when am I closed? Another one is back to funds. Kind of an interesting topic here. Can I bring you a personal check at closing? That's one that I get asked that a lot. Can I just write you a check at closing? Mm-hmm. The answer is, unfortunately,
negative.
No, you cannot. Everything has to be done by a wired check or what is deemed to be good funds. That can be a cashier's check or a bank check. However, here's the disclaimer on that. That has to be deposited in my account for 10 days before I can.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Before I can release it.
So the wire is the way to go.
The wire is the way to go.
And there's a new thing out called wire fraud.
That's right. That's right. That we could do a whole segment just on.
I understand, but you're giving the client the specific wiring instructions from your office.
That's right. That's right.
Old wire instructions don't count.
That's right.
The most recent.
And we have kind of a new software platform called Certified ID.
Okay.
That provides cybersecurity protection going through this software company, Certified ID, that you will get a secured text message and a secured email that will be providing you my firm's wiring instructions. And if you follow those instructions and get the instructions through our Certified ID platform, that wire is insured for up to $1 million sending to me if in fact it would get intercepted through fraudsters and things like that. It's that critical in our industry that we have to take those types of steps to protect our clients.
I've had clients lose money on it.
And clients' funds. It's a legitimate thing. So to the funding thing, yes. Although I'd like to take a personal check, it's not a trust issue. It's just we have to have good funds on the day of closing to be dealing with that. Same thing as why to confirm wiring instructions. And even with the Certified ID, I encourage clients, you can always call your attorney's office, get them on the phone, and verbally verify those instructions. That's never a bad idea.
Okay.
If money is coming from a brokerage account, which happens a lot, that people are using their brokerage accounts to fund their transactions, That cannot be done on the day of closing in terms of calling your broker to make the trade. I've had lots of situations where my clients have, called me saying, I got your settlement statement. I just need to call my broker and have them move the money.
Yeah.
They receive some bad news when they call their broker and find out that trade will happen that day, but the funds will not be liquid. It can be maybe 3 to 5 days for that to for that to happen, and maybe sooner. But it generally is not the day of closing when they need it. So if that's the case, and if you know where you're going to be, getting your funds from, you need to get out in front of that. Talk to your broker about when can those funds be liquid. In order to transfer on the.
I would think that's a big one, because when you're spending big dollars for a house, funds are in a money market or stocks or whatever. So
right. So that's an important one, kind of with funds, handling that. This one is the next one that we get a lot of times. We have a lot of properties here in our area that are part of on a rental market, used for either short-term or long-term rentals. So as a secondary home investment property situation like that. And those homes come with existing bookings, either through a existing rental management company, or a lot of time a seller does with the VRBO and Airbnb and those types of platforms. Sellers can self-manage properties and do it themselves.
Right.
That's fine. And again, that information needs to be provided sooner than later.
Right.
In terms of if there are existing bookings on the books, so to speak.
Yeah.
And just to backtrack, by law, under the South Carolina Vacation Rental Management Act, I believe, those bookings have to be honored 90 days. 90 days out.
What does that mean?
So if a seller has property that they're selling, and they have rental properties that are on the books to be rented, any rentals, 90 days from closing,
from closing
have to be honored by the purchaser.
Okay.
And that's just to protect the people that are coming here to vacation, to make sure they don't get turned away.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that either. That's good.
So you have that 90-day window that you have to honor the bookings.
Okay.
But in doing so, a lot of times, just communication is key there, of giving the information of, hey, my bookings are done through this company, and you can contact them, to handle that.
Sure. Okay.
And where it gets a little more chaotic is sometimes when it's self-managed, of trying to coordinate who's in, the dates, deposits,
right.
check in, check out. If they're managing a whole nother cleaning crew because you have, towels and linens and things like that on the turnover day and things like that, all those things need to be kind of coming forward a little bit clear. Then the
you got all kinds of surprises in your job.
Right. Then the day up. And I would just say, don't assume that is part of the closing attorney process.
Yeah.
A lot of times those types of issues get dropped in our lap on the day of closing. Again, that can happen, and my warning to people is that can get very expensive very quickly if you're having your closing attorney now start to manage your property rentals. So although it happens sometimes, just some very simple steps of just getting some information, and now with the beauty of Excel spreadsheets and things like that, a lot of that can be just one click away.
Sure.
And they have it all together. Right. And again, I do plenty of these transactions and they go off without a hitch.
Sure.
And but every once in a while there just are some hiccups, just because, like you said, there's a lot of things out there that just people don't stop to think about. Of what happened. So many times in transactions, you can close on a Wednesday. How the rental is going to be prorated on the day of closing when it's actually occupied by renters. Just things like that to kind of figure that out. So that's exciting stuff. And then the other one, every transaction is unique. A lot of people say, I can't believe you're a real estate lawyer. That has to be the most boring job in the world. Far from it. I enjoy the people. I enjoy meeting people from all over the country, all over the world, actually, and the different backgrounds. And I'm always interested in the stories of how they found Hilton Head and why they're here. And I think that always fascinates me. And I know we did a video of how I found this place
Yeah,
through coming
sure.
here with my parents and things like that. And a lot of a lot of the stories are very similar, but they all have a couple added nuances that really make it special.
For sure.
But what's interesting is I get to hear a lot of people's horror stories of other transactions that they've done throughout their lives, and all it takes is a couple bad transactions, and they kind of get turned off as to what it is.
Right.
And we're trying to make this the most painful process available to you. And that's why I think using true professionals, like yourself, great closing attorneys, great insurance agents and things like that, and you provide all that information with people to home lenders and things like that, of being with the right people. At the end of the day, there is a little bit of like you get what you pay for. And a big thing is having good counsel and to be able to steer people in the right direction is so critical, especially in local markets.
Well, I think also, with this big change with the buyer's agency change tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Yeah, 17th.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, to your point about professionals down here trying to go it alone, or dealing with the wrong type of agent that represents another party, it can get expensive very quickly.
That's right.
So
that's right. And you're kind of left with more questions than answers, and I think that's where it gets kind of difficult. But I have clients that will tell me, "Hey, we've had horror stories with other parties, and everything is different. And keep in mind, your other party may be different." I have represented sellers that are so thrilled for the new homeowners to be in their home, that have the home professionally cleaned when they move out.
That's right.
They put a bottle of champagne in the refrigerator.
It happens all the time.
And
really.
say, "Welcome to your new home."
That's
and
right.
leave their phone number and email address and are very, very cooperative and very friendly and want everything to happen.
Right.
I have also had sellers and sellers' neighbors that basically say, "Hey, are you closed yet? Because there's a moving van in your driveway." And a seller says, And a seller says, "You do not step foot on my property until I know that money is in my account."
People forget neighbors love to kind of chat a little bit what's going on.
That's right. And there's always one that you can count on that will stake out. That will do a stakeout for the day and watch. Which those neighbors are great to have.
It's just human nature.
But it's human nature, and that's the whole thing. Everybody is different. Everyone has different hot buttons and different triggers as to what it is. And a lot of times it's from past experiences when things go bad some bumps in the road.
Right.
And so people said, "Aha, I'm never going to do that again." But you can have parties that great friendships can blossom out of a real estate transaction. It doesn't have to be as adversarial, but sometimes you can kind of take a temperature from your clients of what you're dealing with.
Let me ask you a question on title insurance.
Yeah.
Because that's a question I get a lot. We've discussed it in the past a little bit, but that's like, do I really need title insurance?
Yes.
I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
So
this is really important.
That is a question that I do get a lot about. Yes, I do not think you're going to get any closing attorney out there that is going to tell you, "No, you do not need title insurance." If I was buying a doghouse, I would get title insurance. You use it more often. It comes into play more often probably than clients think. What it is, it's a one-time premium that essentially insures the abstract of title, or otherwise known the title search. So essentially that title search that is done by a abstractor, someone who searches the titles in the public records, and they look for liens, judgments, pending litigation, see the chain of title, meaning the chain of ownership, all the way about 40, 60 years back. I mean, it goes back as far as you want to take it. Generally, it's about 40 years is how far standard searches go for title insurance purposes here for our transactions.
Do you have just one style, or do you have an advanced version of it, or
for
title insurance?
Oh yeah, good question. So there's a standard policy
Yeah.
that is available out there, and then there's what's called an enhanced policy.
Mm-hmm.
Most agents in this area do write the enhanced policy just because it offers protection for fraudulent transactions, where the standard one doesn't.
Okay.
And just for it's a minimal amount of an upcharge to get the enhanced, but you do get so many more benefits with an enhanced coverage. And I think the biggest one right now is it protects for forgery with documents,
Which is going on now.
and I've seen it happen firsthand. I've seen it.
And also, I might like to add that Hilton Head Island, we had all kinds of people living here in the past. I mean, sometimes they can't find the heirs, as you know.
Right.
Title insurance, big time.
Right.
I mean, this is not like Cincinnati, Ohio. I mean, this is...
You have a quite a good steady turnover
Yeah.
of properties that turn over quite frequently
Right.
within every 2-3 years and things like that. And what I was saying earlier, kind of title insurance works kind of behind the scenes with closing attorneys. A very common thing that we see a lot of times is at closings, mortgages are paid off, and the amounts owed on the mortgage is actually sent in, paid off to the lender.
Yeah.
And the lender, under law, has 90 days to go ahead and record that satisfaction. But as you know, loans get sold and resold and packaged
Yeah.
and sold also as mortgage-backed securities and things like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that paper,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, some people don't really know who is the owner of the mortgage and who can actually properly satisfy it.
Right.
If an owner at the time of their purchase purchased an owner's title policy, that policy is presented to the other attorney and can be very helpful in just smoothing out that transaction and keeping the train on the tracks
Yeah.
for closing.
This is good information. This is really good information. So I hope you all enjoy it. I'm going to put Chuck's information down below. Please feel free to contact his firm directly. And if you choose the John Weber team, you're going to meet Chuck and, get to see Hilton Head Island. So anyway, thank you for watching, and come down. We'll find your dream home. This is the man who's going to do the closing.
Thank you.